It's a misty day with an irritating drizzle. Naplam walks through the wasteland with 5 other men, all silent. Finally, one of the men, a newcomer to the group, speaks up. "What is this cult we're raiding anyway?" One of the other men answers him. "An old religion, its prophets dead, buried. We've come to steal its treasure. There it is." A small tomb comes into view. The group approaches and Naplam opens a creaking door. They light their torches and walk in warily. Suddenly, a gust of wind comes in from the outside, putting out the torches and plunging the men into pitch darkness. Hell descends upon the men as they start feeling immense pain, as their flesh contorts in ways that it should not. Naplam swings wildly with his Zweihander, and with a crack he hits what must have been the shrine of whatever god lives in this place. He falls to the ground. His neck feels like it's going to burn off. He yells out in pain that they have to get out, but it's too late. He is met with silence. His friends are dead. "Do you want to live?" intones a soft voice. Naplam screams yes. "Will you do anything?" Naplam screams yes again, and suddenly he feels pain like no other pain he has felt before, as his neck contorts and twists, and a bulge appears almost as if it were becoming pregnant. He looks up, and the last thing he sees is some kind of bull staring down at him from the darkness. A week later, in another part of the Dying Lands, at the edge of the Dying Lands, a man runs. The side of his face is covered in inscriptions, and his eyes are just starting to turn milky white. Rebar is running towards a boat. He sees several men on board the boat. All of them seem eerily quiet. Amongst them is a man with some kind of large bulge on his neck, but Rebar pays none of them any mind. "I have coin. I heard you can take me off this land," says Rebar. He looks back, as if worried that even now he is being chased. The boatman merely nods and extends out his palm. Rebar drops a couple of coins into it. The boat is pushed off the shore. The boatman starts to row. They are not far from the shore when the men start laughing. Their laughs turn to howls, and they descend upon Naplam and Rebar. What follows can only be described as pure chaos. During this horrible melee, what Naplam and Rebar fail to notice, or possibly remember, is their robes. Robes that, before they were bloodied, were inscribed with pictures of a howling lamb. When we left off, our intrepid adventurers had just met this gigantic, yet seemingly childlike man-ogre. I'd like to talk a bit about a flashback you saw at the start of the video. That, like everything else in the video so far, have been determined by die rolls. I had several questions that I needed to be answered before I continued on with the campaign, seeing as our adventurers might die soon. What is the god that is in Naplam's neck? As we found out in the intro, the god in Naplam's neck is of the pregnant bull. That is the only question whose answer I have revealed thus far. The next questions are also very important. If Naplam dies, what happens to the god? And as for Rebar, who is the person that he killed? And what relation does it have to any of this? We'll find out the answers to those roles very soon. If you recall, the man-ogre previously greeted the party and referred to Spiker as a child of the Howling Lamb, and thanked, presumably, Naplam for the meal that he was about to be bestowed. Spiker was screaming from the trauma of seeing his friends die, and he is now trembling his back turned towards Naplam and Rebar. He trembles and he starts to laugh. His laughs turn into a howl. Very good, very good. Yes, I am indeed a child of the Howling Lamb, and you are very welcome for the meal. He steps closer towards the man-ogre. Naplam and Rebar are speechless and confused. The man-ogre walks with thundering footsteps, and he kneels before Spiker. I am of service to you, my lord. Naplam finally speaks up. What the fuck is going on? Spiker looks back. You haven't figured it out already? You really believed everything I told you. I was your only source of information, and you believed everything I told you. Barb, Rilk, you can come out now. Naplam and Rebar whirl around as they see two figures enter the room. Barb and Rilk, the cultists of the Howling Lamb, one of whom tried to bite and tried to attack Spiker, the other of whom they freed. What were they doing here? Rebar whirls around. What exactly is going on? Spiker ignores Rebar for the moment and turns to Naplam. Do you even know the significance of that god in your neck? The god of a dying religion, our rival cult. We killed all their prophets, and they were about to die. And you just had to strike a deal with him. By killing you, the cult of the pregnant bull will be gone, because their god will be dead. Rebar looks between Naplam, who isn't saying anything, and Spiker. It comes back to Naplam, the bull that he saw right before he lost consciousness. Then what about me? Says Rebar. I don't have anything to do with this. You can let me go. Naplam looks at Rebar with incredulity, and Spiker finally acknowledges Rebar. He steps up to him and says, Oh, but you have everything to do with this. That wretched royalty you killed, he was my brother. We were supposed to rule the cult together, and you killed him. Now, what was the phrase? Kill two birds with one stone. We weren't able to get you on that boat. My ghouls proved too ineffectual in combat. But you, tell me, why did you kill my brother? I don't know. Why did he kill his brother? Let's maybe find that out. Okay, rolling on the chaos portent, let's see what is the reason that Rebar killed that man. 35. Watch. 88. Instinct. Watch instinct. Watch instinct. His brother saw him doing something, and Rebar struck out on instinct, killing the brother. What was it that the brother witnessed him doing? 19. Hear. 19 again. Fear. There was some nefarious cult goings-ons, and Rebar just happened to be around earshot. He was a bystander. They caught him. They were about to bring him in, maybe sacrifice him, and he killed the brother. Okay, I was a bystander, says Rebar. I just heard about some plan you had. I wasn't even sure of the details. Your brother tried to take me in for something, so I killed him. And that's it. That's the long and short of it. It was an accident. You can let me go. Spiker laughs without mirth. An accident. I see. At this point, Naplam walks up. So, all that was bullshit? Everything you told us? Just lies? Not entirely, says Spiker. I am a high-ranking member of the Cult of the Howling Lamb. In fact, I am its figurehead. I was here to make sure the job got done proper. Then what was all that with Barb and with Rilk and the horned people who attacked us? Spiker laughs. You noticed how none of the horned people even tried to lay a hand on me. I actually checked the video. They did not try to attack Spiker. Somehow, a massive coincidence. My goal was to get you into this room, says Spiker, looking around. This place was a prison. There were a few people left. You know, a jailer, administrator, We killed them. We slaughtered every prisoner here. We needed to make the story believable. That way you would believe me when I told you there was a conflict and that we were in the heart of it. Now, any more other questions before you die? Naplum is speechless. It makes sense now. The body that they saw at the start, the guard, the jailer did. The horned enemy is not laying a hand on Spiker. And Barb was acting. It was all a ruse. Spiker takes out the shoe of Death's horse. The shoe that Naplum gave him. My question is, does he know what this is? This shoe is not just any ordinary shoe. It has a 1 in 6 chance of killing small to medium-sized enemies on contact. I'm going to say it's likely that he does not know. Is he ignorant to this? Yes, he has no idea. Spiker tosses the shoe up and down, grins, tosses it back over to Naplum. I don't need your shoe anymore. You can have it back. Maybe I'll give you a fighting chance. I sincerely doubt it. The shoe of Death's horse. Naplum found it in a crypt. As I said, it has a 1 in 6 chance of killing small to medium-sized creatures. But it also returns to Naplum's hand like a boomerang. Naplum, having gotten his shoe back, looks at it, looks at a smug, grinning Spiker, and throws the shoe directly at him. Is he gonna hit? This is going to be a surprise attack, so no initiative yet. He's gonna throw it. And he misses. But at that moment, the shoe comes swinging back like a boomerang. And the fight is on. Initiative. Who goes first? The players go first. Naplum doesn't miss a beat. He throws the shoe again right at Spiker's face. D20. 17, it does hit. For how much damage? So we know that it does D4 damage with a DR10. D4 damage is going to be 3. How much does Spiker block? It's going to be 2. Spiker is down to 1 hit point. 1 in 6 chance. Does it kill Spiker immediately? No, it does not. However, at this point, Rebar doesn't miss a beat either. He swings with his sickle. And that will be a hit. D4 damage, 2 damage. This might be it. Spiker. Spiker is able to block all of it. Spiker just barely survived the onslaught. This was their chance, and they blew it. Enemy's turn. Spiker runs back behind the pile of bodies as the huge lumbering giant comes forth. And Spiker grabs out his horn of the Schleswig Lords. He is going to blare into the trumpet and try to make himself do a non-combat test with an automatic success. What is the non-combat test, you ask? He's going to try to escape. It's going to be a DR12 presence. Can he do it? So we already know that he was faking his hysteria, so he doesn't get a -2 penalty. It's just a -1. Can he escape? 17. 17 -1 is 16. He passes the DR12. He makes his next non-combat move automatically, and he sprints off down the hallway, laughing the entire time. The giant moves in. He laughs in childish glee, and he takes his gigantic flaming club and proceeds to do an area of effect attack on both Naplum and Rebar. They are both going to have to try to dodge this attack. Can they do it? Agility roll for Naplum. Oh no. Natural 1. The PC takes double damage and armor is reduced 1 tier. No way. Using up his only omen here. Naplum now has 0 omens, but he can reroll. I'm going to reroll that, and he gets a 16. He dodges it, but he uses up one of his omens. How about Rebar? 18. He dodges it, no problem at all. Remember, this is an oppressive, claustrophobic hallway. That's something that we decided on when we actually generated this room. Barb and Rilk attempt to slash at Naplum and Rebar. I'm going to say that they have fairly low damage, a d6, but still pretty bad. Naplum and Rebar are both going to have to try to dodge. First Naplum. Naplum dodges no problem. Rebar. Oh my god. Rebar uses another omen. This is bad, this is bad. Oh my god. Rebar uses an omen and he re-rolls that. And he gets hit. D6 damage. 2 damage. Thank god. And he blocks all of it. He is good to go. But they are not in good shape in terms of omens. Initiative, let's see who goes first this round. The enemies go first. That's bad. The man ogre walks over, giggling yet again, and does another sweeping attack. Oh no! The plum gets a 1 again, and he has no omens to reroll this. Oh no. D10 damage. 9. 9 times 2 is 18. The plum is dead. The man ogre roars and he swings his gigantic club, and this time it connects and cracks the plum across the head. He is dead. And as he falls to the ground, the bulge in his neck seems to almost cry out as well. We'll see what happens with that in a bit, but that's not all of it. We still need to know what happens to Rebar. Does he dodge it? He does not. He does not dodge it. D10 damage. 5 damage. How much of it does he block? 2. Rebar is down to 3 hit points. At this point I have to ask this. Does the god of the pregnant bull make one last plea? One last plea to Rebar? I think he does. I think it's very, very likely. Is he going to make a pact with Rebar? Yes! An extreme yes. Which means, to me, that Rebar does not even have a choice in the matter. As soon as Naplum falls, Rebar is consumed by some kind of shock, and he's invigorated. I am going to say that having a god coursing through his veins is going to give him max hit points, but also he is going to level up right now, right before he gets hit. This is no guarantee that he will survive, but we'll see. The dice will tell the story. Roll 6d10. That will be higher than the current HP, so I'm going to increase it by d6. 6. Rebar feels invigorated as his health goes up to 11. Strength. Strength goes up to a +2. Agility. Agility goes up to a +3. Presence. Presence goes up to a +1. Toughness. And toughness goes up to a +3. Rebar is suddenly filled with an invigorating energy, almost as if he sucked the lifeblood out of his former ally. The plum is no more. Barb and Rilk come in, both trying to stab Rebar at once. 9. 9 plus 3 is a 12. He barely dodges the first blow, and he dodges the second blow. Without that level up, he would have gotten hit right there. And now it is his turn. Rebar has an ability that we have not used yet, and that is that he has the Thorns of Comprehension. When worn, the thorns will pierce his flesh, and he perceives all. -4 DR to his next test and ignore the next 2 attacks to hit him as he weaves aside. He crowns himself with the thorns and takes 2 damage. He then picks up Naplum's Zweihander and tosses his sickle aside. That's 2 actions in 1 round, so I'm not gonna let him attack. Initiative for the next round of combat. 5. Rebar goes first. It's all hinging on this. He takes the Zweihander with his strength of +2, and he swings at the man ogre. 12. The DR, even if it was not reduced, he would have hit. But here's the thing, he uses his omens at this point, and he deals max damage with his Zweihander. The man ogre has a -D2 for armor, and that barely lets him survive. He is down to 1 out of 10 HP. At this point, I'm going to check his morale, or at least I would, but we already confirmed that he will not flee, at least based off what the cards have told us. He has a 1 in 10 HP and he's barely hanging in there, but he will hang in there. However, I will do a morale check on both of these cult members. I'm going to give them a morale of 8, and I'm going to check for both of them. Barb, the one on the left, is almost shaken but not quite. He stays. Rilk also stays. They are shaken but they are not affected enough to leave the battle. And now it's their turn. Rebar, without any omens, must do his best to dodge one attack. This is because 2 attacks are actually nullified based on the Thorns of Comprehension. So the Man-Ogre swings at him. He misses. Rebar deftly weaves to the side. Barb tries the same and Rebar weaves to the side as well. Rilk. Does Rilk hit? Rilk does not hit either. Rebar is able to dodge all of these attacks somehow. But now his luck is starting to run out. He knows that he has to defeat the Man-Ogre. If he defeats the Man-Ogre, morale will have to be checked for Barb and Rilk again, as this was their trump card. But first, initiative. Who goes first? Rebar goes first, and Rebar swings. This is it. Does he kill the beast? He hits. He hits for how much damage? 5. The beast is no more. The beast is no more, and at this point, Barb and Rilk have to check morale yet again. 8. Barely. Barb, does he flee or does he surrender? He flees. How about Rilk? Rilk definitely surrenders. Barb runs away, and Rilk tries to run away, but trips over. No, no, he says, as Rebar steps in closer. Rebar has just gotten taken over by the god of the pregnant bull, whose enemy is the cult of the howling lamb. I don't think he'll be able to resist this chance to kill Rilk. Will the god convince him to from the inside? Likely he does. Rebar laughs and swings down on the defenseless Rilk, killing him in one blow. At this point, I'm very curious about the mental state of Rebar. How much of him is actually him? How much of him is the god of the pregnant bull? How much of him is Naplum? We know that some of Naplum's soul was sucked into Rebar. At this point, what will he do? We'll find that out in the next session. Possibly the last session of this campaign.